bakers later. So we're here today to answer one of the most important questions in motoring history is, should I use a two-wheel drive car to go off-road? And more specifically, should I use this? Un Renault Captur, voiture 4x4 pour aller en route, to go off-road. This isn't just any Renault Captur, of course this is a crossover, so it's between an SUV and a saloon car. And this is the Zen version. And the Zen version means it has power folding mirrors, and when you lock it they fold again and they fold out, and it's got a sat nav and air conditioning and manual seats you can adjust manually and everything like that. So I think without further ado, let's see if this car today has what it takes on our 10 feature scale. Exclusive one, remember. Now the first thing we do whenever we come in here is to find out all about the different traction system that there is, but we look around and actually there isn't one. So there's no 4x4, that's point one. The second point is, does it have low range? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't have all-wheel drive or any type of 4x4 system whatsoever. And number two, it doesn't have a low range. What can you do in this car to help it go off-road? The only thing is, well, it's got a manual gearbox, so a very low range first gear would be good, although it's not that low either. This car has been built for the road and has not been built to go off-road. So with that in mind, this is what it is. This is what you've got. Let's have a look at point three, shall we? Are you keeping up with me? Door closes on its own. That's another automatic feature, especially when it's on a hill. The third one is ground clearance. Let's have a look at this. Actually, look, if you have a look down here really low, it actually doesn't look too bad, does it? Because, well, it's tilted over. In fact, an SUV normally would have something between 18 and 20 centimetres, 21 or even 22, depending on if it's a 4x4 version, especially made for the road. A crossover is slightly bigger than a normal saloon car and has a little bit more, it's a hybrid type of thing, isn't it? And this has, well, a little bit more ground clearance than the average saloon car, but not a lot. So point three, it really doesn't have a lot at all. And also, if you're thinking about wading and fording rivers, well, this thing isn't going to take you across the Niger or the Amazon, but it doesn't really have much wading depth either because of the ground clearance. Let's go on to number five, which is actually the angles that it has, the 4x4 angles. If you look at the front here, it's really, really low, and it also sticks out quite a lot. That is never a good thing. We said that the ground clearance underneath is very, very low, so the breakover angle is not going to be very good. And departures at the back, well, actually this isn't too bad, is it? Have you seen, this is very small and neat, isn't it? So at the back, this is actually not bad. I've no idea exactly what the angles are on this because I haven't looked them up, but it's really pointless in some ways, except of course if you live up a lane. So I would say that you almost give it 1 out of 3 for angles. It's not too bad, but obviously the ground clearance means that they're not very high off the ground in the first place. The next thing is the chassis, the body, etc. As you can imagine, it's just unibody, it's all in one, and hasn't been made particularly strongly to go off-road or to do anything really dramatic, except maybe a busy Walmart or Asda car park on a Saturday morning. The next thing you want to take into account, instead of looking at it, is what type of suspension. Well, it's got independent front and rear suspension, as you could imagine. They'd never ever put solid or live axles on one of these. That's another thing. So don't expect too much on that. The wheels themselves, well, we've always said that the smaller the wheels, the better inside, and then to leave a bigger profile. Now these obviously have never had any type of off-roading in mind. We've got Continental, these are road tyres, 100%. And if I'd done my homework, I'd have been able to see this quicker, but it's got a 205 profile, so it's quite skinny, but is bigger than a bicycle. It's got 55 profile, that's 55% of 205. So that's quite small as well. You can see, look, there's very, very little profile, so it means there's very little protection for the alloy wheels. And also, you really wouldn't want to deflate that very much, would you? And it's a 17-inch, which, well, is a kind of an off-road size, but it's combined with everything else. These wheels are pretty useless, and this doesn't come with a spare wheel of any type. It comes with one of those little blow-up inflaty kits. I think you have to actually blow through a type of straw and then repair it. It's a repair kit. I have no idea how it works actually. So that's not good, is it? So if you do get a puncture off-road, you are, well, I can't even use the expletive, you're effed in a little way, aren't you? So far so good. What? It's ticking all the boxes for a two-wheel drive car. Next thing is point number 9 actually, is 4x4 features. Well, the first thing you need is that this is probably going to get stuck more times than a 4x4, and you want to make sure you have a recovery point to actually drag it out, and there aren't any at the front. And what about, can you be towed out? Can you be towed out at the back? Towed or frogged? It doesn't really matter. No, you'd have to I don't know. Actually, how do people do that? Maybe you can write down in the comments. You'd have to wrap it round the exhaust pipe or something. I don't know. So no recovery points on this whatsoever. That's not good. There's a very small boot in this. Some may have big boots where you can put all your recovery gear. You probably need quite a lot, but then you wouldn't be able to use it. You wouldn't be able to use a snap strap or a jock strap to actually get you out of a place. Or in fact put any sort of recovery equipment in there. You probably want traction boards if you went off-road. I've noticed we packed the wrong bag today. We've got the one with a little plastic toy recovery, the traction boards, and also we have one of those sort of foldable spades or shovels, which is, it's like a bendy one, you know, made of like jelly. So it actually you break it if you were just trying to even, you know, dig a hole in a piece of wet mud. And the last point, last but not least on my cheat sheet, is Project 4x4. What can you do to improve this? Well, it's not very. The only thing I would say with a two-wheel drive car, the first thing you have to do with any car that you want to use that's on sort of, you know, mud, that is off-road, is change the tyres. Even if you don't put bigger ones on, the first thing you have to do is put all-terrains on there, which will help you a lot. I don't really think it's worth putting mud terrains on this because you're not going to do anything with it. So I would say, can you get tyres that are all-terrain for this? Probably with the size, you probably could, but it's a very, very, very skinny size, and I don't think you'd better put on much wider ones either. There's not a lot of space. So for any type of project for this, I would say it's a total waste of time. At the end of the video, we'll give you the score out of 30 for this on the 4x4 scale. But the strange thing about these cars is that you see them up lots and lots of lanes like this. I mean, the fact that we've got here means that, well, we did it easily without any 4x4 traction. What we're going to do now is actually to see how far you can get with one of these really crappy two-wheel drive cars, an SUV, very little ground clearance, and none of the features that you really need for 4x4, and see what happens. I think you'll find out that, well, let's find out, shall we? So, in theory, a two-wheel drive car off-road should be about as useful as a teenager at washing up time on Sunday afternoon, or a pair of swimming trunks in the Sahara Desert. What we're going to find out is if that is actually true, and to find out, what we're going to do is go up something which is a little, if you go a bit closer please, over here, have a look at this. It's a very, very small step, and the most important thing when you have a two-wheel drive is actually just planning, track building, making it easier. So let's see if we can go up. Imagine that we can only go up here. Let's see if we can actually do it when it gets a little bit rocky. This is actually front wheel drive, which is actually worse, I think, for going off-road. Too hard, was it?
Aquí no passaràs, Per dónde? Aquest camí està molt malament.
Sí, ja ho sé, anem a donar la volta.
Si vols tirar amunt,
Ja lo sé, ja lo sé.
Vale, vale.
So, that guy actually that just turned up here, he's the farmer. And that field belongs to him. He's a little bit angry because somebody's actually been driving on his field because you can see the tyre tracks. So that's really not something we want to do in the 4x4 world or the 2x4 or 4x2 or two-wheel drive. It really pisses people off and they'll close lanes like the one we're on. What he did tell us though, he said, "You're not seriously thinking of going up that lane, are you? In this, gets really dangerous later on." So immediately you've got the image of a two-wheel drive driver in a rubbishy SUV crossover thing. So if we were in our Sorrento or in a Land Cruiser, he would go, "Oh right, have fun up there, it's really interesting, isn't it?" Well, despite telling us that we're probably going to get stuck and never come back and need satellite phones and a helicopter, we're just going to go up there anyway and see what happens. All right, so let's do it. Right, so we've come to the first part, which is slightly more rough terrain. Okay, we're moving from like a level 1 gravelly thing to level 2, where there are a few mud ruts here, but they're ones that you can avoid. So as we're going up, we can see that even though it's a lane that you wouldn't normally choose for a two-wheel drive car, if you plan where you're going, then you should be able to get up. So let's see if we can get up this one. It looks worse than it is. Its bite, its bark is worse than its bite. So let's have a go. Okay, so you saw that we got up that little lane very easily. The main thing that's going to stop you continuing your intrepid journey in your two-wheel drive car is probably ground clearance first when the ground is dry. Obviously when it's wet and you're going up a slope, that is going to stop you. There's just not going to be enough traction. It's not going to work. Today it's very dry, it hasn't rained for months on end. It's almost drought. It's just sprinkled a little bit. The other thing is that even though you can go on, you might actually not want to because there are lots of like scratchy, thorny things like this. So you might want to just stop and like pick blackberries if you have your little grandma's basket with you, fill it up and go home and let proper 4x4 people enjoy the route. Another thing is, if you're going to go on the route, the main thing is to check out what's ahead, like I think I said in another video, because if you plan carefully and you can see it ahead, you can think, well actually I can do it. But if you just blindly go up a road like we're going to do, that's a really stupid thing to do, especially in a Renault Captur. So we're going to do that now and see what happens. I've been up here before and I think it just all depends on the day. So let's do it. Okay, so we're going to go up this lane. It looks okay. It's dry today, so worst case scenario, the traction's going to work. We might get a little bit scratched. That's not good if you've got your precious 2x4 two-wheel drive car and you love the paint. So we're going to go up, see how far we can get, and then we'll make it sort of like make it realistic because we're on YouTube and stuff. So we're going to film a little bit of the way up. Four-wheel drive, so we put it into first gear and that's it. So off we go. So we're going to go up. The first part here looks fine. a lot of people would be looking at this. Newbies would be looking at this going, oh, it looks really dangerous and difficult. Well, it has kind of ruts. Ooh. I was looking for another, oh, this doesn't look too good, does it? Oh, we can do it. So we just go careering on. So the guy was saying this is really bad up ahead. Well, there's a place to turn around here if we have to. All right, so that's another thing. Keep checking that. It's so dry today. It's unbelievable. And it's really, really good here. But again, it's boring if you're in a four-wheel drive car. A lot of people would probably come up here in their four-wheel SUVs and go, wow, this is quite an adventure. Look at this, it's all bumpy and there's rocks and stones. Look, there's a little bit of a rut there. Oh, fallen foliage. But we got through that all right. Oh, now it's starting to get a little bit steeper. So if we're going to get stuck anywhere, it's probably going to be now. So we're doing, what, 20 kilometers an hour, which is 12 miles per hour if you're in an imperial nation. This on another day, there's no way we'll be able to get up it because it'd be very wet. It's more bumpy than ever now. Can you keep it steady? That was easy. Oh, that was easy. Oh, another place to turn around. We can go in there and plough his field again for him. Now we've got ruts here, but what we can do is put one wheel up on one side, one on the other. That was a little bit too easy. Imagine if you come out to do a 4x4 morning in your 4x4 SUV. You're thinking, wow, I wonder if I can, there's a little bit of a rut there. I'm going to have to lock my diffs now because I'm off-road. But this, another day we'll look at the different difficulties of a route. This is really level one. It's just gravel. There's nothing, nothing difficult here. So theoretically we should be able to get out of this lane without any problems whatsoever. Oh, what's this? Okay, so there's a rut, so we go either side of the rut. That was no problem. Imagine if the farmer said this was difficult, then it must be. I think really the difficulty would be if it had been wet, and that's just one part. But here we go. As usually happens with a lot of these routes, you come out in an industrial estate. Actually, it's quite interesting. You go to an industrial estate, you find these little lanes that come off it, and here we go, the last little step, and hey presto. So that was it. That wasn't a drama, was it? That won't make it to BBC Two. That was much easier than you think. So a two-wheel drive car can go a lot further than you think. You know, most people go, I'm not going up there. Oh no, that looks too difficult, doesn't it? Hey, you know, that's like it's going off into hellbelly land. You don't want to go up there because you might get stuck there and never be able to get out again. You have to get someone with a proper pickup to come and pull you out. And as we saw, you can't be pulled out because there are no recovery points. So I'm not quite sure. Write in the comments how you'd actually get this car out of there. That'd be quite difficult. So anyway, I hope you've seen right now that you can go quite a long way with this car, and maybe you don't really need the full 4x4 investment. Interesting, isn't it? At least I think so. So this time we're going to try a little lane which is famous for its mud ruts, but as I say, there's no mud because it hasn't rained for several months and they're all dry. The only thing is ground clearance, and these ruts are quite deep. So what I'm going to do in our two-wheel drive rubbishy non-macho car is, well, we're going to try and actually get over them. So basically, when you're doing this type of lane in any car, you just really have to worry about ground clearance and planning. So what I'm going to do is put my tyres either side of the rut, obviously. I noticed there is actually, there's a little bit of a shrubbery there, little thing. I'm going to put my little titty bags in the rut. Oh, we bottomed out. Oh dear. It's okay, it's not, it's just it's a contract hire car, so it's not ours, don't have to worry about it. Oh, these are really deep. Here we go, there we go. Oh, bump, bump, oh, bump. Lovely. These are almost impassable in the wrong weather. Now we've come to this part and, oh God, someone's knocked down the sign there. I'd really like to go that side, to be honest with you. I don't really put. Do I want to put my feet in down there? Should we go in here and see what happens when I actually do bottom out? So go down here. Whoops, there we go. Oh, that was quite radical, but we go right in the middle of it again, and it just goes through. It almost makes fun of normal 4x4 cars. Why would you want to spend all that money and have all that trouble on a 4x4 when you can have so much fun in a two-wheel drive car? Okay, so what we're going to do, we haven't managed to get this thing stuck so far. Now we're going to try this. We've got to go up a little, got to go up a curb, which is quite high. So let's see if we bottom out there or not. Ooh, no, we didn't. Then we're going to try and get up here. It's I don't think it's steep enough. Go up, 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 and yep, that was easy enough, wasn't it? So yeah, into the deepest woods you could possibly imagine. And so that has been it basically. I think we'll stop it there, because we can't go to any more remote locations today. Just to say that anyway, we've looked at the Renault Captur as an example of an SUV, a crossover two-wheel drive car, and we've seen that, well, in normal conditions you can actually use it to go off-road or green laning in a way, as long as the tracks are, well, gravelly, mostly not too steep. But even we went up quite a steep slope. It's got to be dry first of all. The ruts can't be too deep, so it's ground clearance. It's got to be dry, and that and also not too steep. So that's it basically. If it's too steep, we've actually found a few times that it just doesn't have the grip to pull you up, and that's where you will need to turn around. And that's it basically. So you can see this doesn't have any 4x4 features. It doesn't have absolutely anything that you'd be looking for really in an SUV, a 4x4 car, to do any offlaning, green offlaning. But despite all that, you can still go quite a long way. And if you got maybe, I don't know, even imagine a Dacia Duster. That's the two-wheel drive version. I mean, it's got quite a it's got a great ride height. It's actually built for countryside. If you put good tyres on that, at the very least, you'd be able to go a very, very long way, and you could save yourself a lot of money. So if you're not into extreme 4x4 and you plan your trips, and on nice weather days, which of course we have loads and loads here in Spain compared to other places, then it's a good purchase. So there we go. I hope you liked the video here, about a little bit different today, about two-wheel drive cars. If you liked it, then thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you very soon for more videos here on Easy 4x4.